Hey, this is Jimmy Smootek Creative. This week I'm doing a quick tip to show you how to install and configure a WordPress backup plugin. Think of this as a form of disaster insurance. I cannot stress enough how important it is to make sure that you have a proper backup of your WordPress site. Not just the files, but the database as well. So luckily, this is a really easy thing to do. There's a lot of really great plugins on the market, and the one I want to cover today is called BackWP Up, which is a free plugin that's available in the WordPress.org plugin directory. So let's go ahead and jump over here to this example site, and I'm going to go to Plugins, Add New, and I'm going to search for BackWP Up. All right, and here's the plugin right here. You'll notice that it has 4 stars with 230 reviews and almost 1.7 million downloads, which is pretty good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click Install Now. Okay. And we'll let WordPress install the plugin. We'll click Activate. And there we go, plugin installed. Okay, so we have this BackWP Up menu that's been added to our administrative options here. We'll go ahead and check the dashboard. So this is basically like an overview of the plugin, how to do things, etc., etc. So what we want to do is add a new job, and a job is a backup task. Okay, so we're going to set up 2 of those. We're going to set up a weekly backup that backs up everything, all the files, the database, the entire site. We'll do that once a week, and then we're going to set up a daily task to back up just the database. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the first job. We'll click Add New Job, and we'll give this a title, and we'll call it Weekly Full Site Backup. Okay, and we're going to leave all of this stuff as is. Okay, pretty much all. It's a pretty robust. Like, you can really just leave all the defaults. The one thing that we want to set up is the job destination. I'm going to set this up to send the backup to Dropbox, and you can, like, okay, so this backup to folder option will create a folder on your web server and just store it there. And it really seems like the easy way to go. But the problem with that is that if something happens to your web server and your website is on the server and your backups are also on the server, then everything's gone. It's kind of like having a backup hard drive attached to your computer. It's great if something happens to your computer, but what happens if your house burns down? Okay, so we want a backup that is off-site. So I'm going to go ahead and click Backup to Dropbox, and I'm going to click Save Changes. Next thing we're going to do is schedule the job to run. So we don't really want to leave this manually. Like, we want WordPress to handle this for us. The whole point of this is that so we don't really have to worry too much about it. Okay, we just want WordPress to do this for us. So we're going to check this with WordPress cron button. Down here, we're going to change the schedule to weekly. We'll leave it at Sundays. You can change this to whenever you want, but this is set up to run Sunday morning at 3 a.m. And for me, that's perfect. So we'll leave that. We'll click Save Changes. Under DB Backup, that's your database backup. This is basically saying it's going to back up all of the tables in your database. So this is fine. Leave as is. Really, all of these settings are fine as is. In the Files section, you can include or exclude certain files. The same with plugins. It's going to back up all of our plugins as well. So the last tab that we're going to configure is to Dropbox. Okay, so if you don't have a Dropbox account, go ahead and go to Dropbox.com and set up a free account. With a free account, you get, I believe it is 2 gigabytes of free storage, maybe 2 gigabytes, I'm not sure, but that should be enough for most sites. If you're a photographer and you have a large site, which you probably do because you have a lot of media, you might want to spring for a premium account, or maybe back up to Amazon S3. That's a super cheap way to back up. For this one, we're going to just go ahead and use a Dropbox, a free Dropbox account. So if you don't have the Dropbox account, go ahead and set it up. You can go to Dropbox.com, or you can just click this Create Account button. I have a Dropbox account, so I'm going to click this Get Dropbox App Auth Code. Okay, so let's click that. WordPress is going to take us over to Dropbox, and we're going to go ahead and sign in. So what this page is doing is basically Dropbox is saying, hey, there's this thing called WordPress that wants to do stuff with your Dropbox. Is this okay? And it's okay, so we're going to go ahead and click allow. And it's going to give us this special code, which we're going to highlight and copy. Now we can jump back over to our WordPress site, and in this app access to Dropbox, we're going to paste our code. And we'll click Save Changes. And if all goes well, Dropbox will say authenticated. So great, we're all set. Another thing that we want to change here is file deletion. So what this means is how many copies of your site are going to be kept in Dropbox. I generally find about 5 is good. So basically this is going to keep 5 full copies of my site in Dropbox. When it gets to the 6th backup, week 6, it's going to delete the oldest backup. So 5 is good for me. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes. All right, we're good to go. So now let's test this out. Let's click this Run Now button, see what happens. Now the larger your site, the longer this is going to take. I have a pretty small site here because it's just a test site, so it should take about 2 minutes. All right, job done in 87 seconds. Again, depending on the size of your site, it's going to take considerably longer if you have a large site. Make sure that you have enough space in your Dropbox to store your entire site. That's definitely important, because if you don't have enough Dropbox space, then this is not going to work. Okay, so with that done, let's go ahead and jump down to backups. And you'll see here, March 5th at 10:27 p.m., which is not the correct time. I don't have the time configured on this installation, but it shows that this backup was set up, and we can even download the backup right here from this link. All right, so that's great. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and set up the daily database backup. We'll click Add New Job. And the reason I do the database daily is because the database is a lot smaller than the full site. So, but it's just as important. Like, the database is incredibly important because it holds all of your posts, all of your pages, all of the configuration information. Basically, if you lose your database, you pretty much have lost your site. So it's super important to make sure that your database is backed up and protected. Okay, so just like before, we're going to give the job a name. We'll call this Daily Database Backup. Okay, we're going to uncheck everything. And actually, also, I just want to show one other thing. I just got notification from Dropbox that the file has been uploaded. And this is the really cool thing about Dropbox. So I'm going to go ahead up here to the Dropbox icon, and I'm going to click this folder, and it's going to open up my Dropbox folder. Okay, and I'll click Apps, back WP up, and the name of the site, and here's our backup, right? And that's really, really cool. So we have a copy of the backup here on the site and in the cloud. Such a funny term. So let me go ahead real quick, and I'm going to copy this thing to my desktop. I'm going to open up, show you what it is. So let's unzip that, and inside of this folder we have the entire site. Okay, so most importantly, right here, this SQL file, that is the that's your database, and WP content. We have all the plugins that are installed, all the themes, like a complete full backup of the site. I mean, it's really great. There's not much to it. So let's go ahead and get back on track here. So we're setting up a daily database backup. We're going to uncheck everything but database backup. Again, all the defaults are fine. Let's go ahead and set this up to back up to Dropbox. Let's go over to schedule. We'll do with WordPress cron. We're going to do daily, 3 a.m. Let's actually do this one at 2 a.m. So that way on Sundays, when the full site backup is running, we don't have to worry about the database backup running at the same time. The single database backup. And DB backup, again, we're going to leave all this stuff at the defaults to Dropbox. So it looks like we have to authenticate each job. So let's go ahead and authenticate again. Click allow. Let's copy the code. Jump back to the WordPress site. Paste the code. And 15 is fine for the database because the database is, like I said, it's really small, so you can keep plenty of those. Save changes. And that's it. So now, really, you're all set. So once a week, you're going to get a complete full site backup, and once a day, you're going to get a database backup. And you can even do your database, if you don't want to send it to Dropbox, you can just send it via email and keep it in your email. Because again, I know I've said it like 5 times, but your database is small enough to back up via email. So let's go ahead and run this daily database task and just make sure that we have everything set up correctly. So we're going to go ahead to Jobs, and under Daily Database Backup, we're going to click Run Now. Okay, now our database job is going to run. Job completed. Okay, there we go. So that's pretty much it. Now we have a backup task set up to back up our entire site once a week and to back up just the database every day. So that if something goes wrong, we have a recent copy of our site and we can get back up and running quickly. And that about does it for this week. Next week, I'm going to show how to take this backup and get a working copy of your website up and running on your computer. This is a really nice thing to have if you want to mess around with stuff like adding new themes and basically experiment with a perfect copy of your site from the safety of your own computer without having to mess with your live site. So that about does it for this week, and thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.